So, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Nick Gibson, and I'm a chair of substance use disorders at the Oregon State College of Pharmacy, where I'm a second-year student. And with me are a few members of the substance use disorders team. So, Shiv, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Shiv Patel. I am also the other co-chair of substance use and disorders.
I'm Sierra Farrow, and I am a member of substance abuse disorder group.
And Jacob.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm a P1 part of the substance use disorders.
And Mila.
Hi, my name is Mela. I'm also a P1 and I'm also a member.
Okay. All right. So today we're going to be presenting about safe medication practices, and we want to give you all knowledge and strategies to help you make the right decisions about prescription medications. And so any medication has the potential to do harm, especially when it's misused. So our goals are to enhance medication safety among youth, college students, other adults, and older adults in our communities, as well as educating people of all ages about the potential dangers of misusing prescription medications.
So let's start by establishing the benefits of prescription medications. Prescription medications can help us live longer and healthier lives when used under the supervision of a healthcare professional like a pharmacist or doctor. Our life expectancy is the longest in history, and people are now able to live with many diseases that were once fatal. We are preventing or curing many illnesses and relieving troublesome symptoms, in part because of prescription medications. Medications can help us out, but only when used as directed by a healthcare professional. Medications can be harmful, especially when misused. Before moving forward, let's define prescription drug misuse. Here are three scenarios. Scenario 1, an individual takes medication to help them study. Scenario 2, an individual prescribed an opioid pain medication, is in severe pain. The patient takes more than instructed to manage their pain. And scenario 3, an individual shares their prescription medication with a friend. Which scenario do you think represents prescription drug misuse? Each scenario actually represents prescription drug misuse. In scenario 1, the individual is taking a medication for a different reason than prescribed. In scenario 2, the individual is taking more of the medication than prescribed. It's often the case that people misusing are not doing it on purpose. However, these actions can still be harmful. And lastly, in scenario 3, the individual is sharing their prescription medication with someone else. Even if your intention is to help a friend or family member, sharing prescription medications can be dangerous. So we define prescription drug misuse as engaging in primarily three behaviors. 1, taking more of a prescription medication than prescribed. 2, taking a prescription medication for a reason different than prescribed. Or 3, sharing or taking someone else's prescription medication. And as we noted on the previous slide, regardless of our intentions, engaging in any of these behaviors is misuse.
Now that we understand the behaviors that define misuse, what do you think? Do most teens misuse prescription medications? No. Turns out 6 out of 7 teens do not misuse prescription medications. This suggests that only 1 in 7 teens, or roughly 15%, have misused prescription medications in the past year. Even fewer do so regularly. This certainly isn't the majority. Never feel like you are not normal or you won't fit in with your peers if you don't misuse. This simply isn't true. Prescription drug misuse remains a problem nationwide, including in many of our communities. Drug overdose deaths, primarily from prescription medications, is the leading cause of accidental death in the US. Clearly, misusing prescription medications can be harmful to your health. In addition, selling or taking someone else's prescription medication is a felony offense and punishable by law, by jail time.
Sorry, I was muted. How can you make a difference? You can make a difference by incorporating 3 practices into your daily life. Follow instructions, keep for yourself, serve as a good role model. I like to think of prescription medications like underwear or a toothbrush. Would you want to wear someone else's underwear or let someone borrow your toothbrush? Hopefully you answered no. Prescriptions shouldn't be any different. Healthcare professionals put a lot of thought and expertise into which medications they choose and how much of the medication they decide to prescribe. There are many factors that come into play, and oftentimes there are numerous professionals collaborating to figure out the safest and most effective choice. Some of the factors weighed by professionals include genetics, medical condition, interactions, age and weight, lifestyle, etc. Considering all of these factors is essential to ensure safe prescription medication use. We say genetics because not everyone responds the same to a given medication. Your body can respond completely different to a medicine than, say, a friend of yours would. Therapeutic effects as well as negative side effects can vary from person to person, so it's best not to share medicine. For medical conditions, many medicines are designed to treat a very specific illness or disease, so taking them when you shouldn't can have consequences. We also say interactions because if someone is taking other medicines and decides to take something from a friend, there are numerous interactions that can cause harm. And lastly, age and weight can both determine how someone's body will respond to a drug. Understanding how to balance these factors takes years and years to master, so it's best to keep your prescriptions to yourself and avoid taking someone else's. In addition to keeping medications for yourself, we should also follow instructions and take prescription medications as instructed by a healthcare professional. When it comes to things like school or sports, there are rules that must be followed. Not following the rules during school often leads to things like detention, suspension, or even expulsion. Sports have their own consequences as well. Like schools and sports, if you don't follow the instructions from your doctor, undesired consequences can follow. However, with medications, the consequences can be a lot more serious and affect you for the rest of your life. Instructions on prescription medications consist of two parts. Part 1, how much of the medication, or what we call dose, and how often you take the medication, or what we call frequency. Part 2, the reason for taking the medication, which we also call indication. And sometimes the reason may not appear on the instructions, but the prescription was written by a doctor to provide a specific intended effect, like to relieve pain in this example. Because the indication isn't always written, it's important to remember why you're taking the medication.
All right, so I know we went over a lot today, and we urge all of you to implement these safe practices every day. You guys can be good role models for your younger siblings and even your friends and teach them what you learned here today. You want to be careful when you see something lying around your house or anywhere that you are, and just make sure that, you don't assume that it's candy or something that, you can eat. It's very easy to mistake medication for candy, and, accidental consumption can lead to something severe. And, if you do see something lying around the house, you want to make sure that you do ask your parents before you consume it or put it in your mouth, or let a younger sibling or friend put it in your mouth. And in our next activity, we're going to go over some ways and scenarios that will teach you how to be more aware of, candies and medications, and show you how easy it is to mistake the two for each other. So in our next activity, it's called Candy versus Medicine. I'm going to ask you to pause the video at this time, and I want you to click on the link for the activity sheet and fill it out. I want you to guess basically which one of the two is a candy and which one is a medication. You have about 5 minutes to complete the worksheet. All you have to do is, at first glance, figure out or pick which one you think is a candy and which one's a medication. And by the time you finish it, I'll go over with you which ones are candy and which ones are medication. And I'll show you that it is very easy to mistake both of those for each other. All right, now that you have probably finished it, let's go over which is which. So as you can see on the left side, that is actually a nighttime pain relief. And on the right side, that's a sweet and sour candy. As you can see, they both look very similar to each other. And to someone who's younger, say you have a younger sibling who's maybe 3 or 4 that's used to eating candy, they're going to mistake the two. They can easily mistake one for the other. And the next slide on the left is licorice candy, very popular amongst, as a candy option. And on the right is activated charcoal tablets. To someone, especially a toddler, it's going to be very easy to mistake the two. If you look closely at the one on the right, you can see that it is a capsule and it looks more like a medication, especially to someone who's older. So again, for someone who's younger, it's going to be very easy to mistake the two for each other. And it's your job to make sure that when you see things like this lying around the house, you think twice before putting it in your mouth or letting your younger sibling and or friend put it in their mouth as well. And on the left, ibuprofen, and on the right, orange Tic Tac. Again, similar thing. They both look the same, and it's very easy to mix up the two for each other. And on the, yep, keep going. So again, these are more examples of how easy it is to mistake a candy for a medication, prescription medication. And we just want you guys to be aware of how interchangeable the two can be, especially this one. The left is the gummy vitamin for kids and the right is the gummy candy. Now, I know some of you may take gummy vitamins every morning, and yeah, they're good for you, but too much of these can also be very bad for you. Now, say you were to mistake regular gummies for the gummy vitamins, you can have an overdose on too much vitamins. That is possible. Not everything that's good for you is good in the excess amount. Everything is good within the right portion. And here's another example. On the left is just sweet and sour candy, and on the right is chewable Tylenol. So it's very easy to mistake the two for each other. And these are just more examples we can keep going through. Keep going. So, as you can see, it's very, very easy for adults and even children to get medications and candy mixed up. I know the first time I did the assignment, there was a few of them that I couldn't properly identify which one was the candy and which one was the medication. And after working in the pharmacy, I realized that it's very easy to get things mixed up because a lot of the prescriptions do look like candy, and it's essential that we teach you guys how to better distinguish, which is which. You're not going to be able to get that skill right away, but the least we can do is educate you on how to be more aware and conscious of what is around you and how to better educate yourselves and others on how to go about seeing random things around the house, such as that could be a tablet or a candy. You just want to make sure that you don't eat it. Now, it's imperative that you, as a young adult, and even your parents, store medication correctly. Now, the best way to store your medications is to put it away from any sinks and toilets, put it in a high place where it's not easily accessible to someone who you don't want grabbing the medication, such as a young sibling or child. Put it in a dry room with a low temperature area, and just somewhere that it's not easily forgettable. Like a medication cabinet, perfectly fine, but you don't want to put it hidden in the back of a drawer that you'll completely forget about. Main thing is to make sure it's out of reach for children and toddlers that could mistake the candy for something, or the medication for candy, and just not accidentally overconsume it. So there are a lot of ways to dispose of prescription medications, and some of these you've probably seen around town, such as drug take-back events with the local sheriff's office, drug deactivation bags. There's also other clinics and sites set up that will take back prescription medications. You never want to flush these down the toilet or throw them in the trash. There is a proper way of disposing unused medication. And although some can be flushed, it's best to make sure you check online and find out which ones are able to flush. But general rule of thumb, you don't want to go about it that way and just flush, all your medications down the toilet. I know in the pharmacy, definitely with a lot of the pain medications, they will provide a special powder that you mix in with the tablets that are left over, put it in water, and it will dissolve. So certain medications do come with instructions that will tell you how to properly dispose of them. And as for career connections, almost all areas in the healthcare profession deal with medication safety. Nurses, physicians, pharmacists, pediatricians. So there are a lot of career opportunities for anyone who is interested in just medication safety or the medical field in general. And there are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there that focus on awareness, recovery, and rehabilitation. You can volunteer there to gain more experience. Even police officers, they're the main people that we partner with for drug take-back events. And they are a great resource for us to make sure that people in the community have a proper way of disposing the medication that they have that they no longer have use for. Social workers as well, and the list goes on. Now, if any of you are interested in any of these areas, you can always feel free to contact us. Our emails are right there on the screen. We can set you up with more information on whatever whatever interested you the most. And yeah, like I said, my email is right there. It's the first one. Nick's email is the second one. And there are a lot of career opportunities that pertain to this. So definitely feel free to contact us if you do have any questions, or if you just found something interesting and you want to learn more, and we'll be happy to get back to you as soon as we can. If there are no further questions, I believe that's all we have for you guys. Definitely, I encourage you, if you found the activity to be educational, please share it with your friends. Like I said, it's very imperative that we spread the message that medication safety, prescription and non-prescription, is very important. And we just want to especially focus on the younger adults and children and make them more aware that medication safety is very, very important. And it's very easy to get medications confused for candy, as most of you found out through that assignment. So this is a good way of spreading the awareness and just teaching other your friends and your siblings that, hey, do this assignment and see how you think you do. See if you really know how to distinguish one from the other. But yeah, that's all we have for you guys today. Like I said, feel free to contact us with any questions that you have.